Yelena Belova wasn't born a killer, but she was raised to be one. Taken from her family as a child, she was placed into the Red Room, a secretive Soviet training program that didn't just produce assassins, it manufactured them. Through brutal conditioning, psychological reprogramming, and surgical indoctrination, Yelena was sculpted into a living weapon. Where most would break, she adapted. Where others hesitated, she moved without question. Her childhood was a lie, spent undercover as part of a fake American family, alongside a man pretending to be her father, and a woman pretending to be her mother. But for Yelena, it felt real, especially her bond with the girl she called her sister, Natasha Romanoff. That connection would become the only tether to her lost humanity. While Natasha defected and found redemption with the Avengers, Yelena remained deep inside the system, trained harder, conditioned more thoroughly, and eventually, she became everything the Red Room had ever wanted. Faster, more efficient, less emotional. A ghost in the shadows with a kill count that rivaled anyone on Earth. But even perfect weapons break. During the events of Black Widow 2021, a chemical antidote freed Yelena from the Red Room's final layer of control. For the first time, she had a choice. But freedom was disorienting. Without missions, without orders, without enemies, who was she supposed to be? He never found the answer. Not before Natasha died. After her sister's death on Vormer, Yelena was vulnerable, and someone took advantage. Valentina Allegro de Fontaine, a woman who knows how to turn grief into obedience, pointed Yelena towards a new target, Clint Barton. She was told he was responsible for Natasha's death. She believed it. By the time she learned the truth during the events of Hawkeye, Yelena had already crossed lines that couldn't be uncrossed. But remorse doesn't erase history, and for someone trained to move forward, not feel, she buried the guilt and returned to what she knew best, the mission. Yelena doesn't have superpowers. She doesn't need them. Her body is honed to perfection. Fast, agile, resilient, every move is calculated for maximum efficiency. Her mind is a vault of tactics, languages, and covert techniques. But underneath it all is a woman carrying the weight of a stolen childhood, a dead sister, and a long trail of blood. She hides it well, under sarcasm, eye rolls, and mockery, but the truth is, Yelena is dangerous not because she's broken, but because she knows she is. She understands what it means to be used, manipulated, weaponized, and she's watching everyone around her to see who tries it next. That's why she's on the Thunderbolts. Not because she believes in their mission, but because she doesn't. Because if this team starts to look anything like the Red Room she escaped from, she'll burn it down before they even see her coming. James Buchanan Bucky Barnes is one of the most complex figures in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a man whose life spans over a century, shaped by war, manipulation, and the long road to redemption. Born in 1917 in Brooklyn, New York, Bucky grew up as the protective best friend of Steve Rogers. When World War II began, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and served with distinction in the 107th Infantry Regiment. After being captured during a mission behind enemy lines, he was rescued by Steve, now transformed into Captain America, and soon joined the elite Howling Commandos. In 1945, during a mission to sabotage a Hydra weapons train, Bucky was thrown from the vehicle and presumed dead. Unbeknownst to the world, he survived, severely injured, and was found by Hydra. Seeing potential in him, Hydra began extensive experimentation. They infused him with a variant of the super soldier serum, enhancing his physical abilities, and replaced his damaged left arm with a cybernetic prosthetic. But the most brutal transformation was mental. Hydra subjected Bucky to repeated torture and psychological reconditioning, erasing his memories and turning him into the Winter Soldier, a deadly assassin deployed across the globe for covert assassinations, sabotage, and black ops. He was cryogenically frozen between missions to prolong his usefulness and ensure obedience. Decades passed, with Bucky acting as a ghost operative, completely unaware of his own identity. Among his most consequential missions was the 1991 assassination of Howard and Maria Stark, a carefully concealed operation that would have major ripple effects decades later. In 2014, Bucky resurfaced during Captain America: The Winter Soldier, revealed to be the masked figure sent to eliminate Steve Rogers. Their confrontation unlocked fragments of Bucky's long-buried memories, sending him on a journey of self-recovery, one marked by guilt, confusion, and the need to make amends. Hydra's serum variant granted Bucky significantly enhanced strength, speed reflexes, stamina, and healing abilities, placing him on par with other super soldiers like Steve Rogers. Combined with decades of training, this makes him one of the most formidable combatants in the MCU. His left arm, originally a Hydra-built prosthetic, was later upgraded to a Wakandan-designed vibranium model. This advanced arm provides immense strength, durability, and features like electromagnetic pulse generation and digital system interfacing, making it both a weapon and a tactical tool. Bucky is also a master of close quarters combat, trained in multiple martial arts, knife fighting, and grappling. His brutal efficiency and adaptability in hand-to-hand situations have allowed him to battle and survive encounters with high-level opponents like Iron Man, Black Panther, and Captain America. Additionally, his expertise in modern and historical weaponry makes him a highly effective marksman and demolition expert. Years of covert operations have also made him fluent in several languages and skilled in espionage, infiltration, and tactical planning. Following the fall of Hydra, Bucky went into hiding. He spent time in Wakanda, where he received psychological deprogramming and was known as the White Wolf. Though no longer under Hydra's control, he remained haunted by the memories of his past. In The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Bucky attempts to make amends with those he wronged, often clashing with his own guilt and isolation. He's shown to be emotionally withdrawn, skeptical of authority, and driven more by responsibility than ideology. Despite being an Avenger by association, Bucky has never truly found peace or belonging. Now, as part of the Thunderbolts, a government-assembled team of morally flexible operatives, Bucky represents the closest thing they have to a moral compass. But that doesn't mean he trusts them. Having been used as a tool for decades, he's highly aware of manipulation, control, and hidden agendas. He doesn't lead the team, but he watches them closely, and if the Thunderbolts ever become what Hydra tried to make him, Bucky Barnes may be the first to stop them. John Walker is a former U.S. Army captain, Medal of Honor recipient, and one of the most controversial figures in the post-Avengers era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Once chosen by the U.S. government to become the new Captain America, Walker's rise and fall was both swift and brutal. He first appeared in The Falcon and The Winter Soldier, when he was introduced not as a villain, but as a decorated American soldier with legitimate credentials. Walker wasn't superhuman at the time of his appointment. What he had instead was extensive military training, physical excellence, and a sense of duty that bordered on obsession. The public saw him as a ready-made replacement for Steve Rogers, a symbol the world could rally behind, but symbols are fragile, and John Walker was not Steve Rogers. Under the enormous pressure of representing a legacy he didn't fully understand, and haunted by the trauma of war, Walker began to unravel. The turning point came when he and his partner Lamar Hoskins, Battlestar, were tasked with stopping a rogue group known as the Flag Smashers. During a mission, Lamar was killed, and in the aftermath, Walker publicly executed a suspect, using the Captain America shield in front of a crowd of civilians. The image of blood staining the iconic shield shocked the world. Walker was quickly stripped of his title and dishonorably discharged, but while the government disowned him, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine saw an opportunity. She approached him with a new offer, one that didn't require virtue, just results. He accepted, and was given a new identity, the U.S. agent. Unlike Steve Rogers, who received the super soldier serum under controlled conditions, Walker acquired his powers through unregulated means. During the events of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he secretly took a dose of the serum developed by the Flag Smashers, significantly enhancing his abilities. John Walker's physical capabilities were significantly enhanced after he took an unregulated version of the super soldier serum, making him a formidable force on the battlefield. His strength and durability were pushed to superhuman levels, allowing him to lift several times his body weight, smash through walls, and withstand high-impact injuries that would incapacitate a normal human. In addition to raw power, Walker gained enhanced agility and reflexes, his reaction time and combat speed placing him on par with other serum-enhanced individuals like Bucky Barnes. Combined with his already extensive military background, Walker became a highly dangerous asset. As a former elite soldier, he's trained in modern combat tactics, squad leadership, and close quarters fighting. He's also an expert marksman and well-versed in urban warfare and tactical infiltration. One of Walker's signature skills is his proficiency with a shield, having been trained to use it as both a defensive and offensive weapon. Although his current shield isn't made from vibranium like Steve Rogers' original, he wields it with impressive precision and lethal efficiency, a testament to both his training and raw aggression in battle. What makes John Walker so dangerous isn't just his strength, it's his mindset. He sees himself as a patriot, someone who's willing to do what others won't. But his black and white view of morality often leads to overreach and violence. He believes in justice, but only on his terms. While he can be noble and even empathetic, his pride and trauma often override his judgment. Walker is not a villain in the traditional sense, but he's unstable, reactive, and convinced that the end justifies the means. He desperately wants to be seen as a hero, but struggles with the reality that his actions have made him anything but. In the Thunderbolts, Walker serves as both a blunt instrument and a symbol of how fragile the line between soldier and weapon can be. He follows orders until he doesn't. He believes in structure until it betrays him. And while he may not be the leader of the team, he certainly thinks he should be. Alexei Shostakov, also known as the Red Guardian, is the Soviet Union's answer to Captain America, at least that's what he claims. Introduced in Black Widow 2021, Alexei is a former Soviet super soldier and decorated operative who once stood as the peak of Russian propaganda during the Cold War. And unlike Steve Rogers, Alexei never became a symbol of hope. Instead, he became a forgotten relic of a failed empire. Trained by the Soviet military and enhanced through an early version of the super soldier serum, Shostakov was given the mantle of Red Guardian and deployed on covert missions throughout the Cold War era. However, once his political usefulness waned, he was discarded by his government and imprisoned for decades, left to rot, his glory erased from history. When we meet him in the MCU, Alexei is older, heavier, and obsessed with tales of his past heroism, many of which may or may not be exaggerated. He often boasts about fighting Captain America, which is impossible since Steve Rogers was still frozen at the time, and clings to the idea that he was once a national icon. Behind the bluster and insecurity is a man desperate to matter again. During his years of espionage, Alexei was placed undercover in the United States as the father in a fake family, alongside Melina Bostakov, Sakharov, Natasha Romanoff, and Yelena Belova. While it was an assignment, Alexei developed a genuine attachment to his daughters, particularly Yelena, who still sees him as a flawed but sincere paternal figure. After escaping prison with Natasha and Yelena's help, Alexei helped dismantle the Red Room and later went underground. His reappearance as part of the Thunderbolts signals one thing: the world is once again looking for powerful men they can control. Red Guardian is one of the few surviving super soldiers outside of the American and the Hydra programs. As the Soviet Union's answer to Captain America, Alexei Shostakov, the Red Guardian, was enhanced through an early version of the super soldier serum, granting him impressive physical abilities. His strength is shown to rival and possibly even exceed that of Steve Rogers at his peak. Despite his age and time away from combat, Alexei has demonstrated remarkable feats of power, such as bending steel prison bars and effortlessly subduing multiple attackers. His durability is equally enhanced, allowing him to withstand blunt force trauma and high-impact hits that would injure or incapacitate a normal human. His reflexes, while not at Black Widow's precision level, are still well beyond standard human limits. In combat, Alexei relies on brute strength and raw aggression. His fighting style is less refined than that of modern heroes, but it's effective, honed through years of military experience. Though not as tactical or efficient as Natasha Romanoff or Steve Rogers, he's a formidable hand-to-hand brawler who can overwhelm enemies with sheer physicality. In the comics, Red Guardian famously used a disc-shaped shield similar to Captain America's, and while the MCU hasn't showcased extensive shield usage from him, his strength and background suggest he's more than capable of wielding one effectively in battle. Alexei also has roots in Soviet espionage. As a former KGB operative, he was trained in spycraft, surveillance, and covert military tactics. However, decades of imprisonment and political exile have left some of those skills outdated, and his methods are often clumsy by modern standards. Still, his experience and instincts make him a valuable, if unpredictable, asset to any team that can tolerate his ego and unpredictability. Alexei Shostakov is defined by contradiction. He sees himself as a hero, but behaves like a washed-up celebrity. He jokes constantly, but carries deep insecurities about being forgotten. He's protective of his family, especially Yelena, yet often acts selfishly or obliviously. Despite his arrogance, he's not malicious. He's emotionally stunted, nostalgic for a version of the past that may never have existed, and clings to stories of greatness because they are all he has left. Underneath the showmanship is a man who wants to be relevant again, even if he doesn't fully understand what that means in the modern world. In the Thunderbolts, Red Guardian serves as the brute force, strong, loud, and unpredictable, but his true value may lie in something more dangerous: his willingness to follow orders without question if it means feeling important again. And in a team where loyalty is often manufactured, that kind of loyalty can be deadly. Ava Starr, also known by her codename Ghost, is unlike any other member of the Thunderbolts. She isn't a soldier, she isn't a mercenary, she's not even a criminal in the traditional sense. She's a scientific accident, a person caught between existence and non-existence, defined by pain, isolation, and the fear of simply fading away. Ava's condition began with a quantum and energy experiment gone wrong. Her father, Elias Stark, was a brilliant SHIELD-affiliated physicist developing quantum technology. During one of his tests, a catastrophic failure caused a massive explosion that killed both Elias and his wife, but not Ava. Ava survived, but not intact. The accident altered her on a molecular level, causing her to phase in and out of matter, constantly shifting between dimensions. She could no longer fully exist in our physical reality, and the process was excruciating. Her molecules never stopped moving. She was slowly dying, but couldn't quite die. SHIELD saw opportunity where others saw tragedy. They took Ava in, trained her, and used her as a covert operative, promising to help stabilize her condition. In truth, she was turned into a weapon. For years, she carried out missions across the globe, phasing through walls, taking out targets, and disappearing without a trace. Over time, the pain worsened. Ava's body was deteriorating, and SHIELD, now revealed to have been partially controlled by Hydra, failed to keep their promise of a cure. This betrayal drove her into desperation, and during the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp, she attempted to forcibly extract quantum energy from Jeanette Van Dyne in a last-ditch effort to survive. She was stopped, not killed, not captured, and after Janet returned from the quantum realm, she offered Ava a temporary stabilizing treatment. Since then, Ghost has disappeared from the public eye. Now she's back, as a member of the Thunderbolts. Unlike other members of the team, Ava's powers are the result of quantum instability, not serum or science enhancements. Her abilities are both unique and extremely dangerous. Ava Starr possesses a unique and unstable set of abilities resulting from her molecular disintegration in a quantum energy accident. Her most defining power is quantum phasing, which allows her to become intangible at will, enabling her to pass through solid objects, avoid physical attacks, and interfere with electronic systems. This ability makes her incredibly hard to detect, engage, or contain. In addition to phasing, Ava can also become invisible while shifting out of phase, rendering her virtually undetectable and highly effective as an infiltrator or assassin. Her condition also enhances her agility and reflexes, allowing her to move in ways that seem to defy conventional physics, whether she's dodging bullets or maneuvering through secure environments. Combined with her elite infiltration and sabotage training gained during her time with SHIELD, Ava is not just dangerous, She's a nearly unstoppable stealth operative, able to strike and vanish before anyone even knows she was there. However, these abilities come at a cost. Ava is in constant physical pain, and her powers require frequent stabilization to prevent her from deteriorating entirely. Ava Starr is not a villain, she's a survivor. Her morality is shaped by necessity, not ideology. She's spent most of her life in pain, used by institutions that claim to help, only to abandon her. She doesn't trust easily, and doesn't commit to causes. Her driving motivation has always been survival, and that's still true now. The fact that she's on the Thunderbolts doesn't mean she believes in their mission. It means she likely has no other option. What makes Ava especially dangerous is that her power doesn't come from rage or patriotism or vengeance. It comes from fear, and fear, when combined with instability, makes her a wild card. She may be the team's greatest stealth asset, but also its greatest liability. If her condition worsens, if her trust is broken again, if she feels concerned, Ghost won't ask questions. She'll disappear, and no one will see her coming. Antonia Dreykov is the current MCU incarnation of Taskmaster, a name traditionally associated with photographic reflexes and elite combat replication. Unlike her comic counterpart, Antonia is not a mercenary by choice. She is the result of mind control, exploitation, and weaponized trauma. The daughter of General Dreykov, head of the Red Room, Antonia was an unintended casualty of Natasha Romanoff's attempt to assassinate him. During the events shown in Black Widow, Natasha planted an explosive that killed Dreykov's top scientists and, she believed, Dreykov himself. Antonia was caught in the blast, severely burned, and left in critical condition. But Dreykov survived, and so did Antonia. Rather than allow his daughter to die, Dreykov turned her into something else, a human weapon. Using a control chip implanted in her head and the same mind control techniques used in the Red Room, Dreykov stripped Antonia of her free will. Her trauma was repurposed, her body was rebuilt, and her mind was hijacked. She became the ultimate assassin, emotionless, loyal, and terrifyingly efficient. What sets Taskmaster apart from other fighters in the MCU is her ability to replicate the combat styles of any opponent she observes in real time. Antonia possesses a highly advanced neurological implant that grants her photographic reflexes, the ability to instantly mimic any physical movement or combat technique after observing it just once. This allows her to replicate a wide range of fighting styles with near-perfect accuracy, including both melee and ranged combat, acrobatics, and weapon techniques. In Black Widow, she is shown emulating the shield throws of Captain America, the claw-based agility of Black Panther, Hawkeye's precision archery, and Black Widow's acrobatics and grappling maneuvers. Her ability to seamlessly switch between combat styles mid-fight makes her incredibly difficult to anticipate or overpower, as she can adapt to nearly any opponent in real time. Taskmaster's tactical armor enhances her combat effectiveness further. Equipped with a heads-up display, an HUD, advanced targeting systems, and integrated weapons such as a retractable sword and high-powered bow, her fighting style is efficient and emotionless. She doesn't speak during missions, doesn't threaten, and doesn't hesitate. Her presence on the battlefield is silent, calculated, and relentless, making her one of the most dangerous operatives in the MCU despite lacking superhuman abilities. It's important to note that while she appears unstoppable in battle, her abilities are programmed, not learned organically. Her identity was erased to make room for combat data. Antonia Dreykov is a victim, not just of war, but of her own father. She wasn't trained like Yelena or Natasha. She was rebuilt, controlled, and used. Her silence throughout Black Widow isn't a creative choice. It's the result of a woman whose agency was stolen. After the fall of the Red Room and the death of her father, Antonia was freed from her control chip, but freedom, for someone who's never known it, is not easy. She has no personality to return to, no past that belongs to her, no real sense of identity. Now, as part of the Thunderbolts, Taskmaster represents something entirely different from the rest of the team. She isn't trying to redeem herself or serve a country. She's just trying to figure out who she is, and what to do with the skills she never asked for. She remains quiet, observant, and distant, but no one on the team underestimates her, because in a group full of killers, ghosts, and unstable soldiers, Antonia is the only one who can become any one of them in seconds. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, or simply Val, is the shadowy architect behind the Thunderbolts. While she may not have superpowers or combat ability like the rest of the team, what she does have is more dangerous: access, authority, and the ability to pull every string from the inside out. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Valentina is introduced during the events of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where she approaches a disgraced John Walker following his public execution of a suspect. Rather than condemn his actions, she recruits him, not as a hero, but as a weapon. We next see her in the post-credit scene of Black Widow, whispering misinformation into Yelena Belova's ear and manipulating her into hunting Clint Barton. Already, it's clear, Valentina doesn't just lead, she recruits through emotional leverage. Guilt, grief, anger, these are her tools of persuasion. Her official position in the MCU, revealed later in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, is director of the CIA, giving her direct access to classified operations and global intelligence. But this only scratches the surface. Valentina operates in a space between legitimate government and covert black ops, and she's building something the world hasn't seen before. Valentina is assembling the Thunderbolts as a government government-controlled alternative to the Avengers. Her team is composed of assets that are expendable, morally flexible, disgraced, desperate, or indebted. These aren't heroes, they're tools. She knows every member's history, every weakness, and exactly what buttons to press. Whether it's Yelena's grief, Bucky's guilt, or Walker's thirst for redemption, Valentina doesn't need to force anyone. She just steers them, always making them think it was their idea. It's still unclear whether she's serving a higher government agenda or her own ambitions. In the comics, Valentina is a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who eventually becomes a double agent for Hydra, and even Madam Hydra herself. While the MCU hasn't confirmed this path yet, the breadcrumbs are there. She's secretive, unpredictable, and her endgame is unknown. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine doesn't fight with weapons, she fights with people. Her power lies in manipulation, not muscle. She builds alliances strategically, even as she subtly dismantles the trust that holds them together. To those she recruits, she offers the promise of redemption, a second chance. But behind that offer is an unspoken demand for complete obedience. Valentina presents herself as a guide, a fixer, even a protector, but her true intentions are often hidden. She doesn't lead with honesty, she leads by control. And while she appears to help her operatives, she's always preparing for the moment when they become expendable. Her presence on the team doesn't require a suit or a serum, because everyone on the team works for her, whether they realize it or not. She's not the kind of leader who inspires, she's the kind who controls. And in a team made up of unstable soldiers, assassins, and broken minds, that control may be more terrifying than anything they face in the field. Because if the Thunderbolts ever wake up and ask why they're doing what they're doing, or who it's really for, they might find Valentina's face at the end of that question, and by then, it'll be too late. Robert Reynolds, better known as Sentry, is one of the most powerful and most psychologically unstable characters in Marvel history. Often described as Marvel's answer to Superman, Sentry possesses godlike abilities, but is haunted by a destructive alter ego known only as the Void. His story is a paradox, a man gifted with nearly unlimited power, yet constantly at war with himself. Sentry's origin begins with an experimental serum, an enhanced version of the super soldier formula that granted him the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. After ingesting the compound, Reynolds was transformed into a being of immense strength, speed, and energy, but the serum also fractured his mind. Alongside Sentry was born the Void, a dark and violent entity, embodying all of Robert's fear, rage, and trauma. To protect the world from the Void, Sentry allowed his existence to be erased from memory, even from the minds of other heroes. For years, no one remembered he existed, including Robert himself, but his return to consciousness reawakened both the hero and the monster, setting the stage for one of Marvel's most tragic and unpredictable powerhouses. Sentry's powers are considered nearly limitless, with strength and capabilities that place him among the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe. His physical strength is extraordinary. He's lifted massive structures with ease, overpowered cosmic-level threats, and in one of the most famous displays of force, he tore the god Ares in half during a battle. His strength has been portrayed as rivaling or surpassing even the Hulk and Thor, depending on his mental state at the time. In addition to his raw power, Sentry is virtually invulnerable. He can endure nuclear-level explosions, survive direct hits from some of the universe's most powerful beings, and continue fighting without visible injury. His body resists physical trauma, energy blasts, and most forms of conventional and superhuman attack. Sentry can also fly at near-light speeds, often crossing continents or reaching space within seconds. His flight is effortless and allows him to engage enemies across vast distances in moments. On top of this, he has the ability to manipulate energy in various forms, projecting destructive energy blasts, controlling light, and in some cases, altering matter at a molecular level. His healing factor is equally remarkable. Sentry can regenerate from wounds almost instantly, and in extreme circumstances, he has even been shown to resurrect himself from death. This makes him incredibly difficult to kill or contain. Mentally, Sentry exhibits strong resistance to telepathic intrusion and mind control. In some storylines, he has demonstrated the ability to affect others psychically as well, though this is a less explored aspect of his powers. What truly defines Sentry's abilities, however, is their connection to his psychological state. When Robert Reynolds is emotionally stable and in control, he can wield his powers with near-perfect precision. But when his mind fractures, when anxiety, fear, or the influence of his dark counterpart, the Void, takes over, those same powers become wildly unpredictable and devastating. His greatest strength, in that sense, is also his greatest threat. At the core of Sentry's character is duality. Robert Reynolds is a man filled with guilt, fear, and uncertainty. He never asked for the power he was given, and he constantly struggles to control it. The Void, his dark mirror, represents all of Robert's suppressed emotions: rage, self-hatred, and destruction, and emerges when his mental state deteriorates. This constant internal battle makes Sentry both a savior and a threat. His presence can turn the tide of any war, or end it in catastrophe. He is a living weapon capable of saving the world or destroying it, depending on who's in control at any given moment. Sentry isn't driven by glory or vengeance. He's driven by survival, of others, and of himself. Every time he steps into battle, he risks unleashing the Void, making his every decision one of restraint over raw power. Sentry is more than just a hero with unimaginable strength. He is the embodiment of what happens when power is given without stability, when the greatest force in the universe is trapped inside a man who's constantly trying not to break.